So we're just being there. Johnny and Greg were talking. Tyler and I were talking. Well, we hear something behind us on the other side, back towards the cemetery side. So all you could see was just these two green eyes looking at it, and you could see them blink every once in a while. And it would do like that, and you could see them blink. I told Johnny and them, I said, I'm going to go find Martin, and I'm going to go talk to Martin. Because, obviously Martin being, a wealth of knowledge on that place. So I went and found him, sat down and talked with him. I said, hey, let me run something by you. Tell me again exactly where you were. I said, we went through the Mumbers Bay, went past the little park services, the little visitor center, whatever you want to call it. He said, and you turn right as soon as you pass that and went up the hill, and there's a little cemetery on your left. I said, yep. He said, dirt road off to your right, big red gate across it. I'm like, yep, that's it exactly. He goes, and he looks around. He said, Robby? I said, yeah, Martin. He said, you were about 100 yards from the original 1982 massacre site.
Oof.
I said,
that's where that was? Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on the wonderful Robby Raines, and we're going to get into a Dogman encounter that he had in the LBL. So we're looking forward to that. If you keep finding yourself coming back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. You can catch me every Tuesday on the regular show, which would be this one, and you can also catch me every Friday at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time, and you can come onto the channel and talk with the host and talk with me. I am the host. Talk with all my moderators and everyone else. Ask questions. We have a lot of fun over there. And you can go over and download me on the MP3 formats, all your favorite ones. I'm on those. And you can contact me if you have anything you want to talk to me about at the iJupiterPodcast@gmail.com. So with all that out of the way, let's welcome to the show, Robby Raines. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you. Where are you coming to me from today? Where are you located, my friend?
The great state of South Carolina.
So you're the second one in a row from South Carolina I had. That's incredible. So I'm talking to you from the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. one of the few paranormal / cryptid / anything under the sun that's not covered in the regular news podcast in Mexico. So I'm so happy that you came on today, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So do me a favor, buddy. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where we can find you, and things like that, man.
All right. So, as you said, my name's Robby Raines. I've been a police officer for about 29 years, give or take. I'm co-host of the Nightmare Hunter podcast with D.A. Roberts, Kerry Pocket Doc Davis, and Steve Monrotis. Most people might remember us as D.A. Ex Machina, but we went through a little rebranding. When DA first started the show. It was, obviously before me and Doc and Steve came around when he first had the idea. So it was more about promoting his books and some things like that. But as the show grew and progressed, it became more about all of us.
Okay.
So we went through a little rebranding a couple weeks ago, I guess.
Okay.
Changed it to the Nightmare Hunter podcast. So because that's kind of pretty much what we branded ourselves as, the Nightmare Hunters. We go chase things that most people don't want to.
Yeah, where are you located? Are you on like YouTube, or are you on all the
Yeah,
MP3s?
it's on YouTube.
Okay,
We're
all the
live
links
on
in the description below, guys. All the links in the description below.
We're
Sorry.
live Monday nights. DA and I do what we just started, what we call Monday Night Mayhem, because we're both authors. We both have. He's got a lot more than me. We both got published books. He's got 35 published books, 35 plus, and I'm just published my third, and I'm about to publish my fourth, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But we do something that's kind of a little interactive writers thing where we're letting the chat help us write a story.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And just kind of progressing a little story as we go. Then Wednesday nights is either the normal show, or if we have another author on, we've kind of started calling it the Authors Forum or something like that, where DA and I will sit around, and Doc and Steve sometimes too. They usually work a lot, so a lot of times it's just me and DA. And Saturday nights is usually our regular cryptid shows that we talk about most of the stuff that we go looking for and the encounters. And sometimes we'll just pull up MapsWatch and just, read encounters to people.
Okay.
We fly by the seat of our pants a lot of the time.
Yeah, but that's sometimes the best way to do it, man. Sometimes the most interesting things come out. You kind of like maybe open the chat lines or say, "Hey, man, you guys can jump on if you have any." Yeah, that's really cool. So you're also an investigator. So what's that? How did that all start?
Well, I mean, I've always been interested in cryptids, and when I read DA's book about 5 years ago now, one of his, I think it was Odin's Call was the first one. The Wild Hunt, Odin's Call was the first one I read. So I found his email in the back of the book, and not thinking anything about it. I didn't have a clue how writers worked back then. I thought anybody that published a book, I thought was just this multi-millionaire that lived off up in a mansion on a hill somewhere. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna send him an email anyway. And he sent me an email back the next day, and I was like, wow. So one email turned into 2, turned into 20, turned into 5 years later, he's one of my best friends. And
well, that's so cool, dude.
Podcast, yeah. and I've since, like I said, published 3 books because out of his mentorship, and I'm working on my 4th one. He's working on his 36th or 37th. I can't remember to that.
It's a hell of a process. I was thinking about maybe one day doing that, but I don't know if I have the patience to actually sit down and do it. Well, I think it's easier than you think it is. I mean, I'm a joke writer, but that's different. Just kind of go out and try it, and then it kind of builds on its own. But I imagine it's similar process. You have like a core of an idea, and you just kind of build out from there, right?
Yeah, I'll see the first story that I wrote, my first book. I've had a version of that story in my head for probably 25 years or more. I just, I didn't know what to do. Didn't think I could do it. Whatever excuse you wanted to make for forever. And as long as DA and I've been friends, he's, you need to write it down. You need to write it down. He's like, dude, just write it like you're writing a report in law enforcement. The DA's retired law enforcement too. But he's like, you've got the experience. You know how to do it. You can do it. And it was just like one day I was laying there trying to go to sleep, and it was like somebody stuck a funnel in my ear and poured the first 3 chapters in my ear.
What a great way to describe
it. And I woke up the next morning, and I'm like, and I got to my office, and I said, So I just started typing, and really honestly, I hadn't stopped because I got the first 2 books done in probably 3.5, 4 months.
Wow, that's prolific. Mm-hmm. That's extremely prolific. And you also do field investigations. What's that all about?
Well, DA and he lives in Missouri. I live in South Carolina, and Doc lives in Colorado. So getting all 3 of us together a lot of times is hard to do. But every once in a while the stars line up and we actually get to go out together. A lot of times it's me driving to Missouri and hanging out with Da and his son Noah for a while, and we've gotten into some pretty nice and interesting situations down there. But Doc actually came down one time too, and we all four got to go out and do some stuff. The LBL thing though, that was the Woodwalkers had a meet and greet.
Oh yeah, the Woodwalkers.
And,
I know of them. Yes.
Yeah. So me, my buddy, this is when I was still doing my podcast too. But it got to be where there was just too much doing all our shows and everything was going on. So I just kind of let that go by the wayside. But anyway, at that time, Johnny and I were still doing our podcast. So we drove. DA was supposed to be out there too, but he had to. I think he had to help move his son in back to their house. It's for some reason I can't remember exactly what it was, but he didn't get to go. But I was, we'd already paid for our hotel rooms, and I already had time off. So Johnny and I went on ahead, went down there, and yeah, that's a weird place. If you've never been to LBL,
I've heard about it.
It is very, very different.
I've talked to a lot of people who's been in there, whether it be Daryl Denton or many others, many others. And you say, as soon as you cross, where the little sign is right there at the south end, as soon as you cross that, you can feel there's a distinct difference in the air. Yeah.
Daryl was out there that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I've known Daryl for a while too. We've kind of crossed in the same circles a few times.
Okay.
But yeah, he's right though. Johnny and I were in DeMumbers Bay, which is pretty much right smack dab in the middle of the craziness down there. That's what it seems like. We were there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and there was zero sounds of wildlife. It was nothing. I mean, you could hear crows across the lake, way across the lake, but nothing like right where we were at. And I was just kidding around. I told Johnny, I said, I would not be surprised if Jason Voorhees stepped out from behind one of these trees. That's just the feeling that you got. It was just it was so eerie. And the way the wood, I had taken a video of it and sent it to DA. It's like I was turning in a circle, and he was like, dude, that's some, and he'd been there before, but he's like, that's just some of the creepiest woods that you could ever go in. But we found like tons of fish skeletons that littered the shore. And I'm talking like fish like that big.
Okay.
Just boned out, scattered the shoreline and up into the woods, but nothing else. It was weird.
Yeah. I've heard of people going there, and like in the wintertime, I believe the water levels go down because these are like man-made lakes. It used to be the land between two rivers. There's a long history.
Land between the rivers is what it started out to be, and then they made the lakes. Now it's the land between the lakes.
Right. And then like certain times in the winter, then like the water level drops a little bit, and there's certain places you can go. And then a friend of mine, I can't think of his name right now, Roger Williams, he went up there and he said, I just walked out and just started finding these huge, either Bigfoot tracks out there, just these like, in the middle, and it's cold out there. And it's just one of those places that, I've seen a person talk about there was a blood orange moon out one night, and they seen like basically like a small, like a little, like she couldn't describe it. She said it was like a little Mothman, and that's where Martin Groves had his encounter. Then you have the massacre at the LBL. It's just one of those places that are infamous amongst like cryptid hunters like yourself and others. So
yeah, and there was a lot of weird stuff that went on that whole time we were down there. I told DA, I said, we were back at the hotel room, Johnny and I, we were talking to DA on the video chat. I said, it'd be kind of cool because my daughter and future son-in-law were actually down there with us too. And my Tyler, my future son-in-law, he was kind of our technical guy for our podcast. And I told DA, I said, it'd be cool because there's plenty of people with generators and there's things, during the camps. Let's see, they had that camp out down there, but before we knew that was going on, we had already had our hotel room. So
okay.
Then we found out they were there, and we already had our hotel room, so we'll just stay in the hotel room and then just drive back. We were probably like 20 minutes from the LBL where we were where our hotel rooms were. So we'll just drive back and forth. I said it'd be cool if we could set up and that Wednesday night we're down there, or excuse me, the Saturday night, jump in and go live, and Johnny and I could be live on. Well, it was DAX Machina at the time, but go live on the podcast from the LBL.
Do you get signal out there?
Yeah, we were getting a signal, everything, because we got out there a little bit early. Oh, well, actually, we've been out there all day that day, but we got set up, probably about 30 minutes early.
Okay.
Tyler went through all the checkup. His computer was like 100, or it was like 80%, and everything was working good. We got on with DA and Steve. I think it was DA and Steve, or I don't think Doc was on that night, but we got on, tested. Everything was working great. Sound was good. We got some lights set up behind us, so everything could be seen, or Johnny and I could be seen because we were outside. Everything was working great. We were talking to Steve and DA, just like everything was great, just like you and I are talking. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Time for the show to start. DA starts. He does his little intro, and he said, "That's not a backdrop behind Robby and Johnny. They're at the LBL." He said, "So Robby, tell us what's going on." And as soon as I started talking, everything just went black. Computer went dead from 80%. It went completely dead. We got a battery pack that somebody had put it in there. It was at 100%. Tyler plugs it up, dead, just like that. We had to get a drop cord, and my daughter had to drive her car down there. She has one of those AC.
Yeah, on the back of the car or whatever. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. She had to drive her car down there, and we had to basically plug a drop cord into her adapter in her car, and her to keep her car going and plug everything in that way to get up and get back going. I mean, have no clue what happened, what it started. Everything just went. As soon as the podcast started, everything just died.
Yeah, it's one of those common occurrences that happen when you'll have these like what do you want to call it, ghost hunters or paranormal investigators are out there with their K2 meters and everything, and next thing you know, they'll actually bring extra battery packs and take them outside, and they'll all go dead. But I've heard of it, but I think it's less rare if you're like outside somewhere. It's something interesting with the electrostatic or electric interference, and somehow whatever this is, especially in this particular area, it's just drawing it down. I'm not surprised by it, the stories I've heard coming out of that place, but I imagine it's much different when you experience it yourself.
Well, we talked about it after we finally got everything back up and running. We talked about it, and we actually looked into it. I don't know if it's got anything to do with it, but the LBL is actually a convergence of 3 ley lines.
Okay.
There's 3 ley lines, so that may have something to do with it.
Well, there's also there's a ton of like first of all, it was like Native American Indian land. People got kicked off of there. Then settlers came in. They got kicked off of there. Any place where you have water, there's cemeteries every which way in there. Every turn, yeah.
You don't drive down a road in that place without passing a cemetery.
Right. It's just one of those weird places that I didn't even know about the ley lines part. That's an interesting bit of information I didn't have yet.
Yeah. That's from what we could find out, it was a convergence of 3. There's, like I said, it is at least 2, but it looked like there was a convergence of 3 that ran right there at it.
And it's also not maintained very well, is it? It's not a very well maintained area, is it?
Depends on which side you're on.
Oh, okay.
If you're on the north side, everything's nice and pretty, and
on the Kentucky side.
Yeah, that's where you got the wood bison and the elk and all that stuff, and then you go up to the other side, and
it's
a different story. I mean, there's people up there camping in Demumbers Bay when Johnny and I got out,
right?
But it's such a we were walking through the woods, and it just felt oppressive. I mean, it's just.
Wait, it's just a sick feeling in your head, or you feel like you're being watched?
And that was during the day.
Right. Imagine being there in the nighttime, man.
Oh, we were.
Oh, you were? All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the story then.
So Johnny and I got down there on a Wednesday, I think. Well, my daughter and Tyler were not supposed to get down there till I think they got down maybe Friday, early Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday night, I think it was, because like I said, they got down there on Friday, and Friday night we were like, okay, well, let's, we're down there. Greg Ogles was down there. I don't know if you know Greg.
Oh, I know who Greg. Yes, I've had him
Yeah.
on. Good friend of mine. Yes.
Yeah, Greg and I are good friends too. We've known each other for a while. We went to a couple conferences together.
Oh, okay, so you know better than I do. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know who he is.
Well,
Yes.
The original reason that the DA and I were both going to be down there is because we were going to be in that second movie he was filming, or documentary he was filming.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, though, all the footage of Johnny and I got corrupted.
Whoa.
Which we took that right before all the stuff happened with our computers for the show.
Wow.
So yeah, it was weird. But anyway, so we get up with Greg that night when Taylor and Tyler got there, and Greg's like, "Well, where do you want to go? You want to go where we've had encounters for this? You want to go where?" I said, "Dude, I've had Bigfoot encounters." I said, I've never seen orbs. Let's go where you said there's orbs." Okay. So if you get on the trace, which that's the main road that drives,
right.
Heard that, and I had no clue where we were in retrospect, but I'm friends with Martin too, and I talked to him the next day, so I'll get into that part in a minute. So just hold tight for the Martin Groves part of it too.
Okay.
Because Martin and Daryl and all of them were at this conference too. So Greg, me, Johnny, Tyler, and my daughter Taylor go out and go to this place. We're coming in from the good side, let's say, and we cross on in, and we go past or go around to Mumbers Bay and go up to right past this little visitor center. And as soon as we pass the visitor center on the left, it starts going up the hill, and there's a little cutoff to the right. So Greg takes us up this little cutoff. And of course, we park right beside a cemetery because you can't drive past any part of that place without driving past the cemetery. So we'll go up here and turn around. It's already starting to get pretty dark. Greg gets all his camera stuff out, and he's like, "All right." He said, "We've seen orbs right around in here." Like, okay, cool. So long little dirt road that kept on going right beside where we parked. There's a big one of those big red gates that somebody had put across, I guess, the park. They put across and locked it down.
Okay.
But so basically you're at a fork like this, and one part goes up, kind of just stops, and then that kept on going. But this part that forked off this way is where the gate was, and that gate was probably 150, 200 yards down from where we were at. We'd seen it during the day when we drove past there. But so we're standing there basically right next to the cemetery, and Greg and Johnny are talking, and Greg had gotten Tyler to do some of the camera work, and I think Taylor was holding maybe a microphone or something like that. And of course, me being me, I'm like, how stupid of me would it be for me to walk about 40 or 50 yards down that way in front of y'all? And Greg said, "Pretty stupid, but I know you're going to do it anyway." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Okay.
I just want to know how stupid it was. I knew I was going to do it. It's just so. But my thing is, I wanted to see and experience it. I didn't want to be influenced by what they were saying, or what, if they said, "Oh, well, look at that blue one there," I didn't want to be like looking, and I didn't want to be influenced by that. So I'm just gonna go down there by myself, which is what I'm apt to do. So I go down about 30 yards ahead of them. And I just kind of sat there and let my eyes kind of clear up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I start seeing stuff flashing in front of me. And while I'm focusing on that, then I start hearing, and I can hear Greg back there saying, "Ooh, did you see that red? That red one? Oh, there's a yellow one." And I was seeing this stuff, but I wasn't standing right beside them, and I wasn't like, I wasn't hearing them say it, paying attention to them, and then looking and seeing something. I was seeing something and then hearing them.
Oh, so you okay?
Yeah. So I felt like it. Okay. It wasn't just them influencing what I was seeing.
Yeah, you're not being coerced in any way. This is what you're seeing, and he's actually kind of like secondhand saying it as you're seeing it. Right.
It's like a visual and then a confirmation from behind.
Right.
Well, while I'm looking at that, I heard off to my right, I started hearing footsteps, and I'm like, so I, screw orbs at that point. I didn't care nothing about that. I was like, okay, we got some company. So I just kind of stopped and started focusing on that, and they were still back there just, gibbering about the orbs, but I'm listening to these footsteps just kind of moving parallel to the path that I was on. But it was kind of like started way out in front of me and then kind of worked its way around to where it was almost even with me.
Got you. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, time to start backing up. So I just kind of eased back over towards Greg, and they're all oblivious that there's something over here in the woods beside us, because they're all, oh yeah. So I get over there and I'm like, oh, you stopped the orbs. It was that right there. And I'm like, I leaned over Greg and I said, Greg, we got some company over here. And I'd turned back around. I said, back over my left shoulder. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He stops and he looks and listens for a little bit. And I think he might have heard a footstep or two where he's like, he looked at Tyler, who had, I think Tyler had switched and had got the parabolic mic at that time. And so Taylor got the cameras, and Tyler and I kind of went, like, if we were looking back to the way I was coming, Tyler and I kind of went further up this way.
Okay.
And they stayed where they were at because we wanted to get away from them with the parabolic mic, so Tyler could turn around and aim it so we wouldn't be picking up them instead of what we were trying to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So Johnny decided he was going to do an owl call. So he does an owl call. Immediately gets an exact mimic of his owl call back, but a lot deeper. It didn't sound like it was a bird. It sounded like it was something with a big set of lungs imitating that.
Right.
So he looks up at me and I'm like, so he does it again. Gets another exact mimic. He looks up and I'm like, I was just want to, keep it going as long as you can. And he does it again. Well, the third time, instead of it being a exact mimic, it was more like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, gave up.
It was just like, all right, I'm done with you, dude. So I think that, we had a Bigfoot right there in front of us messing around with us. Well, while Tyler and I were over there listening to that, as soon as that who came in, we hear 3 knocks almost identically in front of, or right in front of where Tyler and I were standing.
Okay.
And I turned around and looked at Greg and I went, and he's like, yeah, I heard it. So, well, then mysteriously the cameras die again. So we stood out there. We didn't hear anything else for a little bit. It's probably like 20 minutes. We put the camera equipment up. It was not like freezing cold, but it was, it was chilly. So my daughter had gotten in the car and was sitting in the car because she was a little bit, she didn't have a big enough jacket. And she's like, I'm just gonna sit in the car, Dad. I'm like, okay. Well, as we're standing out there talking, we're kind of whispering around, just kind of letting things happen, because sometimes, you don't need to be quiet. You just need to act like you're there.
Right.
Just being there.
Yes.
So we're just being there. Johnny and Greg were talking. Tyler and I were talking. Well, we hear something behind us on the other side, back towards the cemetery side, and kind of back up the road a little ways. So, and it sounded like it was moving down towards the car. Well, Tyler, of course, at that point, he goes into the boyfriend mode. And he's like, it's moving towards the car. I'm going over there next to Taylor. I'm like, all right, cool, go over there. So, and I'm like, all right, I guess I need to go over there too, being Dad.
Yeah.
So I walked to the back of the car and I got Johnny and Greg's attention. I said, told them we heard something over there. So they kind of quietened down a little bit just so they could hear. Well, as I get over next to Tyler, we hear, because, and it was hard to describe it during the night, but we went back over and looked at it during the day. And basically it was like a draw that came down. You couldn't see this at night, but you had like one little gully that came down and another one that kind of came down, and they met, and then they kind of formed into another one, went down towards the road, because where we were at was kind of above the main road, above the trace.
Right.
So this kind of fed down and went over towards the trace, and then there was more woods way over on the other side. But at night, it just looked like it was just a little bank that you would step down. You couldn't tell how far down or how deep down it was. We stepped around. It was looking, and you could tell there was a tree down there, but you couldn't see. It looked like it was about that big around,
Okay.
decent
Good.
sized tree.
12, 16 inches.
Yeah. And we could hear something down there, but we couldn't see anything. And I had a headlamp on. So I turned back around, and Johnny and I have been in the woods a lot together. So we kind of knew what was going on. So I went, just popped my chest, and he knew that was, oh, shut up and look. So he got Greg to stop, and I'm like, and I pointed to my eyes, and don't look, I'm about to turn the light on. And I said, there's like pointed down there, so I wasn't saying nothing, but he knew what I was talking about.
Right.
So he gives me the thumbs up. I turn back around and I click my light on. And when I click my light on, right down at that tree, there's two eyes about that big around looking back up at us. Now, to us, it looked like they were about that far off the ground. Because, you could only see so far, and you couldn't tell.
Yeah, that it went down as far as it did.
It kept going down. So all you could see was just these two green eyes looking at, and you could see them blink every once in a while. And it would do like that, and you could see them blink. And you gotta understand, my son-in-law is 6'8". He's not a small kid, and he doesn't jar too easy. But he had the paradigm shift that night.
Okay, what's the paradigm shift?
When
his world went upside down. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You realize you equate that to grinding the gears when you can hear the gears grinding when you miss a shift.
Yeah, it's not synchronized correctly or something.
His brain missed a shift because you could hear the gears grinding when he saw it. Because he went from thinking, okay, it's possible for something like that to be around, to thinking, okay, I see something that I can't explain. Because any kind of small animal, as soon as I turned that lights on and we started making noise, would have skittered off.
Right.
This thing stayed there and watched us. I mean, intently.
That is unnerving.
Tyler keeps saying, we're up here and we're armed. If this is somebody playing around with us, you need to let us know. We're up, and just like over and over, he was like stuck in that. We're up here and we're armed. Let us know. And I'm like, calm down, big guy. It's all right. We're good. Well, while Johnny had been up behind me, and I was doing like this, and he finally come down and he was like, "What? I don't see it." Well, he was looking directly at the tree, so I reached over and grabbed him by his jacket and pulled him over in front of me. It was like, and as soon as I pulled him over, he was like, he looks back and he says, "What the hell is that?" I said, "You tell me. It's just a set of glowing red or glowing green eyes." I said, "You tell me." He's like, "I don't know." And Greg's over my right shoulder looking. He was just like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And like I said, we'd already put the camera equipment up because it had already started acting up.
Drained. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is just us looking at this point. We don't have any video evidence of it, which I wish we had, because it was just, like you said, unnerving. That is the best description of it. So we watch it for a little bit. Well, Johnny kind of backs up because he heard something behind us. So he goes up there and starts looking around. Let me back up to the reason that he was back behind us in the first place. Is he said when I cut my light on, he said somewhere out past where the light was, he said he thought he saw a shadow kind of move back into the shadows from like when when the light come on, it just kind of. Now he didn't say anything about that till later on, but he was like, when he was looking at that, he was like, I saw that up there. I might need to go back up there and make sure there's nothing coming around behind us.
Right. That's a good call though, by the way. Dude. Your buddy was over there.
Yeah. So he goes back up there, and he's like probably like 15, 20 feet away from us. And Tyler and I are still sitting there steady looking at. We probably looked at this thing for like maybe 15 minutes. And it just stayed there and watched us for 15 minutes, which, that tells me that it was not well, number one, possums and raccoons don't have that color of tapetum lucida in their eye shine.
Okay.
Just, dogs are the closest thing that I can come to that have a color that color, almost the color of your background behind you is what it.
Okay. This
What it
here.
reminded, yeah, that green
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of black mixed into it. That's pretty close to what the color was. So I hear Johnny. Well, when I turn around and look back towards him, and he motions because Johnny wears those bionic ears because he's been working construction all his life, and he's he's a couple years older than me. So,
Hearing aid. Okay.
yeah,
I was like, what are you talking
not
about?
not a prescribed hearing aid, but just those that you can get on. They used to have the commercials for him all the time on TV.
Okay.
It's just enough to help him because a lot of times when you're talking to him, he's reading your lips. So,
Okay.
but he's just got those to kind of help out. Well, he could hear something walking up behind us, so that he got my attention and said,
Wow.
"Well, as I turned my head, I turned my head back around. It was gone.
Oh, the eyes.
Never heard anything. Never heard it move. Nothing. It was just gone, which was unnerving. So we stayed there probably another 5-10 minutes. Never heard anything else. Like, okay, that was interesting. So we go back to the LBL, kind of hang out with them for a little while longer. Talk to Greg and or not Greg, Greg House, not Greg Ogles. Talk to Greg House and Misty and all them for a little bit more. We headed on back to the hotel. Well, the next day we get up and doing our stuff in the morning time. We go to lunch, and while we're at lunch, Tyler says, "Well, why don't we go back over there during the day, and we can take some establishing shots and some things like that, and we can kind of look and see what just get a look of the land
Right.
See what it looks like during the day, so we can kind of know better about what the size of the thing was." I'm like, "Hey, that's a great idea," because we knew exactly where we were at. So we drove back over there, pulled up, and pulled our car exactly the way Greg's was the night before. Tyler gets out, and he was standing on a piece of curbing that they used to go around the cemetery. So he knew exactly where we were standing. So he stood right exactly where he was, and I stood in front of him, and I said, "All right, I'm gonna walk down the hill to that tree, and that way I'm gonna know exactly how far away it was from us." So I go off down the hill, just walking straight from him down to that tree. Well, when I got down to the trees, that's when I realized that, I said we thought it was that far off the ground.
Right.
I'm looking at this tree, and I'm looking back up at Tyler, and I'm looking, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is gonna be bigger than we thought it was, because the tree was from where the ground was actually to the level that we saw its eyes on the tree. Instead of it being about 2 feet, was more of a like 3.5 to 4 feet.
Okay.
Because the ground sloped down and you couldn't see the ground from there. So where we thought it was standing on the ground, it was actually 2.5, 3 feet above the ground, or maybe even more, maybe 4 feet. Because I told Tyler, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna start bending my head down, and you tell me stop where the eyes were we saw it last night."
Right.
So I'm 5'9", and I was standing right next to the tree, and I started bending down, and I got about like that. And he said, "Stop," and I looked down, and I was probably about, I'd only slumped down a little bit. So whatever this thing was I can in my mind I can envision it.
Okay. Like leaning at an angle, kind of looking out.
Yep, looking up.
Yeah, dude.
Because that would have been the tree would have been right here on its right hand side, looking.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of standing straight up, it was doing like this. Well, the leaf litter was probably about that thick, which explains why we didn't hear anything when it walked off. I saw some scuff marks and some drags and stuff like that, but nothing that you could get a clear print out of.
Right.
And so we called Johnny over because he'd been walking around the area where he heard some stuff. Well, he come walking over there, and he had reason I told you about the bionic ears, because he had them on the whole time that Tyler and I were doing that. He said he could hear us talking, but he never could hear us move. So that just
Okay, that kind of substantiates what the experience that you were having. Okay.
Yeah, so, that's why we never heard anything move off.
Right.
So the sound we heard, I think it wanted us to hear that. I think there was two of them. I think they were trying to separate somebody. I think they were actively hunting us. And I think
okay.
this might be a controversial thing, but I think we were having Bigfoot that over there before that. And I'm not saying they were trying to warn us or anything, but I don't think the two get along. So I think
Okay.
there might have been some kind of back and forth.
Okay.
Maybe the Dogmen had gotten a little too close, and Bigfoot were running them back over that way, and then they saw us and thought, "Ooh, we'll get a quick snack before we leave."
Yeah, I've heard that before. Like where this guy was getting, he always gets mind speak, and he goes up there all the time. And this one time he went up there, I think it was Alfred Santariga, and he was like, they were saying, hey, you're not going to want to come up here today. He said, what are you talking about? He said, don't come. And he goes, so he still went, and then when he goes, oh, hey, but you need to go. You need to go. And then he started to leave, and then all of a sudden, like shit kicked off, and they were actually, he's seen where it looked like there was he found a place in the forest. This is in New York State, where it was all just like the whole complete, like trees and all the saplings and like, I mean, big pieces too, maybe 4 or 5 inch trees just ripped out of the ground. Like there was a big battle on top of a ridge somewheres in New York, like when he went up later after he left. And it also like I think some spirit of the forest came out like a deer and like just stared at him with glowing eyes. The things that are out there, man, I don't think people realize, they want to think that we know, you know what I mean? Because it makes us feel good. When we think we know, it gives us a sense of like, I don't know, like comfort and knowing that we know what's out there. But I don't think we do, man. Not even in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Even people who've experienced it, like yourself and others, they still don't know what the hell they've seen.
No, I have no clue. But so after we make our discovery that during that day, we go back to base camp, and I told Johnny and them, I said, I'm gonna go find Martin and I'm gonna go talk to Martin because obviously Martin being a wealth of knowledge on that place. So I went and found him, sat down and talked with him. I said, hey, let me run something by you. He said, anytime, brother. He said, yeah.
That's him. That's him. Yeah. I can hear it. That was a good invitation, dude.
I'm a little bit of an impressionist. I can't talk about somebody or tell something without trying to use their voice. It's a curse. But so anyway, I sat down. I said, well, this is what happened. I went through what happened the night before, and I went through and told him, exactly what we did right before we came back up there that day. And he said, tell me again exactly where you were. I said, we went through the Mumbers Bay, went past the little park services, a little visitor center, whatever you want to call it. He said, and you turn right as soon as you pass that and went up the hill, and there's a little cemetery on your left. I said, yep. He said, dirt road off to your right, big red gate across it. I'm like, yep, that's it exactly. He goes, and he looks around. He said, Robby? I said, yeah, Martin. He said, you were about 100 yards from the original 1982 massacre site.
Oof.
I said,
that's where that was.
Yeah,
that's the part they blocked off because of the massacre.
I don't know, but he said we were within a couple 100 yards, give or take, of that site. I was like, oh, would have been helpful to have that the night before.
Yeah,
but
what's Greg out there doing? What's if Greg?
I don't think Greg knew. I don't think he did. I think Greg just was just they probably had some encounters and some stuff there before. I mean, it's not like Greg goes to LBL every other day anyway. I mean, that was only like his second or third time that he'd been there. So, I mean, unless you're somebody like Martin who's been there since that stuff's happened and knows that stuff, it's not like they broadcast, hey, this is where a family was massacred. They've tried to scrub that off the internet is anyway. So it's not like they broadcast, hey, this is where this has happened at.
Yeah.
According
Martin
to
used to hunt there. Yeah, Martin used to hunt there. I mean, for years before that even happened. And that was at 93, I think it was, when his happened. So
yep.
That's one of my
according to him, that we were within 100 yards of that original where that family was massacred.
And And you still continue to do that, even continue to do what you do, other than write your
Oh yeah.
books, and
Oh
because
yeah.
you enjoy the thrill of the fear, or what is it about? Because I think it's the wanting to know the unknown that's that
Yeah.
driving force inside of humanity.
I'm not. I don't consider myself an adrenaline junkie because you ain't gonna get me to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Hell, you can't even hardly get me to go up in an airplane. I'm not gonna bungee jump. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do anything stupid like that. But I will go, out in the woods and dark and look for things like that. I don't know. I guess to each his own. Because
True.
I guess people that like to skydive are not the kind of people that's going to jump in a cage and go under the water with a shark, and
Yeah.
vice versa. I mean, everybody's got their own
Yeah,
thing.
it would be cool if you actually went up to one of those skydiving places somewhere and be like, "Hey, you guys want to go out hunting monsters and see what happens?"
Yeah, so, yeah. That was probably 3 years, 2.5, 3 years ago when that happened,
Mhm.
and I've been to Missouri several times since then, and we had some interesting encounters in
Yeah.
Missouri. Missouri's
What does
a strange place.
the southern part of Missouri down that way, towards
Well, deep,
was it the Arkansas line? Arkansas? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
not far from that. It's in off Table Rock Lake, Joe Ball campsite, and Combs Ferry, and
Yeah, I don't know Missouri too
Montrose.
well. I was looking to move there when I left Germany. I lived in Germany for 20 years until they tried to give me the old Kaplik. And I said, the hell with that. And we just ended up moving here. This place is also very spooky down here in the Yucatan. I mean, you got like witches and stuff like that down here, and Nahuas, which is like a shapeshifter, and witches, and they get these little things called alushas, which are like little like goblin fairy type Cupid looking things that are like 3 foot tall with a big Buddha belly. And if you hear them in the yard, like they come out of the caves. There's a lot of caves here. If you like the Mexicans will be in their yard, they have like these big backyards, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, this one guy was telling me a story where they kept hearing something in the corner." And he goes, "Check this out." So he lit a cigarette, set it in the corner, poured a little glass of beer and set it out there, and this fucking thing came out, drank the beer, and started to smoke the cigarette. A little 2.5 foot, 3 foot tall little thing, man. And the fucking dude ran out of there. And they get sick once they encountered him too, for up to like 45 days. Some people even perish. It's one of those kind of places. It's very like Appalachia. Appalachia
Yeah,
is another one of those places where those mountains are so old, they're so ancient. They used to be
that's it.
they're connected to Europe and even parts of Africa, like the Atlas Mountains, all that,
Well,
with the continental drift. They're very old.
Appalachians are pretty much, they start in my backyard because I'm right at the Pickens County where I live is right at the
Okay.
base of Table Rock. It's the start of the Appalachian Trail.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm from Maryland initially, so we have that too in the western part.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
I'm from the Baltimore area, but it's we have more like hauntings and stuff out there. Like
You you can
there's crazy.
start the trail and walk from here all the way to New York and up into the Catskills.
Yeah. It's one of those places that people just don't realize. There's a lot of folklore, like
Mm-hmm.
giant owls. Like I had a gentleman on that talked about a 10-foot owl with a 30-foot wingspan trying to get him, like with red glowing eyes coming out of the tree. And I mean, you can see he's like chain smoking while he's telling me this, man. Like just like, and it was really hard for him. And it's just the things that are up there, man. The world, because we, as being humans, we kind of like conquered the whole planet except for maybe Antarctica because it's too damn cold.
Well, we think we have.
Well, there's that too. There's that too.
Do you know how much? Do you know the number figure on how much land in the United States there is that is national forest? Just national, not state parks.
I think it's like 40%, maybe. I'm just a guess.
87 or 88 million acres.
All right, that's pretty big. That's enough to.
Yeah, you could hide most countries inside what we've got. That's just national forest. It's unbroken green that you can't do anything with. That's
mostly in the West, though. That's mostly in the West, though, right?
No, that goes across the Mark Twain. Pretty much goes across the entire United States. Now,
Mark Twain. Mark Twain is in Missouri.
Yeah, it pretty much runs across the country.
Okay. Yeah, so
And,
you're saying there's a lot of places for these things
well,
to be, not hide, but to be.
yeah, and the number I just told you, that's just national forest. You know, national forest. That's it. You start adding in Bureau of Land Management. You start adding in national parks. You start adding in uh,
Military
Bureau of
bases.
Land Management. Well, most military bases, if you look at them, most military bases butt up to national parks.
Yeah, you should hear all the I'm sure you have all the, like Fort Hood, especially what's the
Mm.
one in Fort Lewis, Washington. The
Fort
the
Lewis
the the
McCord.
the encounters that come out of that
Yep.
place, or Fort Carson,
Yep.
Colorado. It's
Yeah.
incredible. People just
Well,
don't realize it.
and you got Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. There, Camp Lejeune, the Marine Corps base up in North Carolina, just not far from me, has got all kinds of stories. A lot of Dogman encounters from up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
But when you
I was stationed on what was this? It was at Fort Fort Riley in Kansas. It's a pretty big
Mhm.
place too. They had the impact area, that impact zone. It's so big where they fire in all the mortar rounds and stuff. You go up through there, you can hide stuff in there too.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Well,
People don't
I've
realize.
been to I've been down the Ocala National Forest in Florida, and
Okay,
they got that um bombing range down there, and all that's national forest too. And I've had some encounters down there too. But when you start adding in all those other stuff, it's like I said, it's 88 million acres when you add just national forest. When you start adding in all that other stuff, you get up to over 1 billion acres of unbroken, untouched land. Now, what could hide in 1 billion acres? What could
anything you
hide in
want,
88 million acres? You could put,
anything you
like I
want.
said, you could literally put some countries inside. I mean, there's countries in the world that'll fit inside Texas.
Oh, easy. I mean, the Vatican
So,
City is one. That's the smallest one in the
so,
world.
so, and Texas would fit inside comfortably inside what's we can't
Right,
go. And Teddy Roosevelt is the one that started the National Park Service.
right. Yes, it is.
Nobody has ever. That's another little conspiracy theory. Probably we ain't got time to get into that, but you know,
Yeah, why he did that? The
well,
reason behind
we got
that.
our own reason, our own beliefs about that, and the Bauman incident that he wrote about in the Wilderness Hunter. Uh, Short and sweet version of it, we believe Teddy Roosevelt was Bauman. This
Was
was
what?
He was Bauman.
What's Bauman?
That you know about his book, The Wilderness Hunter, right?
No, I don't. I'm not a big reader. I'm not a big reader.
Okay,
I'm more of an artist and painter and musician.
Teddy wrote a book called The Wilderness Hunter, and
Okay.
most of it was about, um, just encounters and things that he had seen and all that stuff. Well, there's one incident in the book called the Bauman incident. Uh, he says that this guy named Bauman and his partner were trapping, and I can't remember exactly what part of the country it was somewhere in the Midwest. Were trapping, and his partner they got attacked, and his partner ended up getting killed by a Bigfoot type creature. Now, this was a very vivid retelling of everything. I mean, I'm talking like, just
Very
just
detailed. Yeah.
very detailed, very descriptive. I've been a cop, like I said, for close to 29 years. I've never been able to get. You ask somebody what happened. Yeah, he came down over here and he hit me. Come on, give me a little bit more description. People don't usually give that descriptive of an account. You have to like pull it out of people.
Yeah.
So
So it kind of burned into his mind.
now,
Yeah.
keep in mind that Teddy was running for president at the time that he was writing this book, or at the time the book was about to come out. Okay, so Teddy was also where he went to college. He was also on the sculling crew. The little skinny boats that they. That,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they
Yes. Uh-huh.
well, take a wild guess what Teddy's position was.
I'd imagine he's the one in the front with the
He was a bowman.
megaphone. What's a bowman?
I don't know exactly which position. I don't know if that's
Okay.
the front or the
Okay.
back,
The bow of the
but
boat is in the front.
his position. Well, that's what I'm saying. But his position was called bowman.
Okay.
That was his position. Coincidence that the Bauman incident, he was a Bauman. Now, in the time that book came out, he won the presidency. Nobody ever came forward and said, "Hey, that's me. I'm the one that the president wrote about." Just never said anything other than a last name. Never gave a first name. Which okay, you can say, well, maybe the guy wanted anonymity. Okay,
Right.
great. But at some point, somebody got to come. After the guy died, somebody from the family would come. Hey, that was my grandpa. That was my great grandpa.
Right.
Nobody's ever come forward. I along with Da, Doc, and Steve, and a lot of others, because there's a lot of other we started doing shows about this 3 years ago. Now you got channels like the Lore Lodge that are picking up and doing it, that are only like 6 months ago when they started doing it. So our theory is kind of catching wind.
Okay.
So we believe Teddy was Bauman. If you were Roosevelt's campaign manager and he was writing this book,
You would keep
what
it
would you
under
say?
wraps. Keep it under wraps. Don't
Mr.
print it.
Roosevelt, you don't need to say that you saw a Bigfoot creature and your partner got killed by this Bigfoot creature while you're trying to run for the president.
Right.
Okay, we'll fix that. The Bauman incident.
Right.
And,
right. So he's using like this
yeah.
you
Because one of his first acts once he gets president is to do what? Set aside all these millions and millions of acres for the national forest that you can't ever do anything with. Well, what's usually one thing that when one president goes out and another president comes in, especially if they don't like each other or things like that?
Oh, they changed their policies, of course.
Yeah. Nobody, since Teddy put that in, nobody has ever tried to use that. Oh, we could sell this to the timber company. We could make
Billions of dollars, yeah.
Billions of dollars off this. Nobody's ever done that. Why?
That's interesting. So what is he? That's kind of like the old Eisenhower when he went down to the South Pole down there, what the Antarctica, and was it 1958? Yeah. And then he came out in 1960, and he was talking about we need to watch the undermining of our democratic processes through the military-industrial complex, and then Kennedy comes to office and gets offed. There's a lot of stuff. I love that kind of stuff, man. That's I can do. I just can't talk about it on YouTube because we are such a free country. We talk about China and we can't say things like that.
This show is for entertainment purposes only.
For entertainment purposes, we do not recommend. We can either confirm or deny any of these things that are being said by either Jed or myself,
right.
all without express written consent from Theodore Roosevelt himself, and he is somewhere on a family plot, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, but there's we've done multiple shows on the Antarctica thing. We did something where we kind of linked up Antarctica and Atlantis, and it's you starting to get into stuff. Like you said, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I love stuff like that too.
It kind of made me believe in God, man. I used to be an atheist for a really long time, bro. And then like you just seen when you start like looking into things like first I was like 9/11. I was in the Army at the time. I was in the NTC in California, and we were in our tents, getting ready to go out into the field and do our exercise. And they were like, "Hey, everyone, get out here!" Boom. And you start watching it and you start seeing things. And okay, wait a minute. There's a passport that fell out of nowhere. And everyone incinerated. It brought the buildings down and turned them into a fine dust, which people are still, dying from to this day. Wait a minute. And then you realize, okay, so with time, you're like, this can't be just money and power. They have more money than they ever spend in any lifetime of anybody through generations and generations. It must be something more, nefarious. It's got to be something more nefarious. So then you start to come to the concept of true evil. So true evil must exist. And if you know anything about Eastern mysticism, then the balance of the dark has to have a light side. So there must be true good. And that's where that came to me. You know what I mean? Everyone has their own path to Rome. That was mine. Yep. You know what I mean? And then holding my daughter in my hand. That also tipped the scales heavily.
It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there.
I got there. I'm not quite what you think I am. I'm not a Christian per se, but I'm definitely a man of God. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. It's all about your spiritual walk with the Lord. It's not about what I say is right for you. It's what you know that He has told you is right for you and Him. That's what matters.
It's everyone. I think everyone perceives it in their own way, and You know, everyone puts their pants on in the end, so we're all people. That's good. That's a good thing. Life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. Things like that. I enjoy those kind of concepts. You know, the Trinity with the, you know, I don't know if you're Catholic or whatever, but that's what my girlfriend is. So then you have like the mind, body, and spirit. The mind is the thought, the body is then Christ, and then the spirit is the breath. So you have the thought, you need the body to say the word, and the breath coming out is the spirit. All together, you get the message. Things like that makes me go, oh, I love that kind of concept. You know, it's just, there's things that I have deep-seated concepts and ideas that just make me go, you know, that's not quite what I have experienced personally, you know, my own personal revelation within me. But I do know, this is an interesting fact. I do know that invoking the name in the time of crisis, especially when one of these things are bearing down on you, you know, and you feel it like you're being bluff charged, or even Martin's, you know, if you go through Martin's thing, if you say that name, things will happen in your favor. So that's pretty good evidence right there.
If you've ever heard Greg House tell any of his stories, that's exactly what happened to him. He thought he was going to get killed.
Greg House, get me in contact with him. I don't know who Greg House is.
He's one of the woodwalkers.
One of the woodwalkers. All right. I mean, I've heard of them. Greg House, House.
Yeah, HOWSE.
HOWSE. Okay, I'll contact him.
Yeah, if you want some good Bigfoot stories, he's got them.
All right. Yeah, I just want to delve into these topics in any way. And they seem to want to contact the people that they want to contact. I mean, you can be a hunter in your whole life, 50 years in the woods, every year go out to bow season, black powder, whatever it is that you do. You get your deer every year, and they'll never see a hide or hair of any of these things. And then it'd be one person who just stumbles in the woods one day while he's going to go pee or whatever, or taking his dog for a walk on some trail, and the thing will just show up in front of him and talk to him, you know, with his mind. It's incredible. And that's what I like.
And I agree with that. But if you think about it from the hunters, because, you know, you have a lot of hunters. I've been hunting for all my life. I ain't never seen them. Okay. What do most hunters do? They get one good spot, and that's where they go all the time. Right.
Okay.
Maybe you lose that spot, but you find another spot. Hunters are not walking around traipsing through the entire, you know,
True.
They're not traipsing through a 50 square mile area and then going through another 50. They're finding a place, they're sitting, they're staying.
Or even if they go on a drive, like say, for example, you get a couple guys together and you go, hey, we're going to do a drive on my friend's property. It's so many people in the woods, you're
but it's still, you're in a very localized area.
True.
So with that logic and that reasoning, that's like taking a teaspoon and going down to the edge of the ocean and picking it up and saying, well, there ain't no sharks in that, so there must not be any sharks in the ocean. And throwing it back in and saying, just because you go to that one spot all the time that they know you're at,
and they know you make
probably actively try to avoid. How can you say, well, there's no such thing because I've never seen them right here on this spot?
Right.
I've never seen a Bengal tiger walk in my backyard either. Does that mean they're not real?
Well, yeah. Well, for you, they don't. For you, they don't exist.
If I have that mentality, then you're right. They don't. That's that same blinder mentality. Oh, I don't see them right in front of me, so they must not exist. And that's the Billy ape. Perfect example of that. The Billy ape was found in the Billy region of the Congo.
Okay.
And it was discovered in 98, 99, 2000.
The bongo ape. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a 6-foot upright chimp that uses tools, kills lions, has snatched women and children out of villages. What does that sound like? Does that sound like some Sasquatch stories we've heard?
Kind of does.
Kind of does.
Even the duck-billed platypus.
But of course, us smart Western people, oh no. That's just stupid, crazy stories that these uneducated villagers are saying until the National Geographic film crew caught them on video.
Yeah. Then you have the ones in Vietnam, the rock ape. You have the Yowie in Australia. There's just so many things out there.
In China or the Yarans in
Russia. Yeah, or Siberia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got the Almasti, the Almas. You got the Orang Pendak. You got, why did every First Nation tribe have a name for these things. Every First Nation tribe. This goes back to, every major continent or every major civilization on every continent has a story about something like this. And I say werewolves because the term Dogman wasn't invented until the late 90s or early 90s, late 80s by that DJ in Michigan, because he was talking about the Michigan Dogman. Same with Bigfoot. Bigfoot was not a term or not a recognized term until 47, 50, somewhere in, or between 47 and 50, whenever, and it was in the Bluff Creek area. Something been throwing the fuel drums down and harassing this logging camp. Reporter goes up there, takes pictures of the Bigfoot, says Bigfoot terrorizes logging camp, and the term stuck.
Right.
It's like calling every tissue a Kleenex.
Right.
Like calling every soft drink a Coke.
Yeah. Is that a Southern thing? Is that a Southern thing? You guys don't call it Coke?
No, I don't. But
we call it by its name. Yeah.
But we may all call it Coke down here, but most of the time when you get up north, they call it all soda or pop. It's the same thing. It's just you use a generalized term for something that's before that everybody had a name. Go back into the 17 and 1800s and look at all the Wild Man, Hairy Man, Wild Man of Borneo. All these things were around. They were just called by different names.
Oh yeah, Sykesville Monster, Sykesville Monster, which is where I'm from, or was it the New Jersey Devil? There's so many.
Devil, yeah.
That's a very famous one.
Yeah. Did you realize there's over 1 million acres in the Pine Barrens?
They're unbelievable. I had a gentleman on Swamp Dog. I'm going to have him on this Friday. His wife, he's seen one the size of a grizzly bear out there. He didn't know what the hell it was. He didn't even want to go out there. Daryl Denton went with him. He goes, and then Daryl like, okay. And then Daryl went by himself. Daryl had to go back to Tennessee. He goes out there. He goes out with his wife one night. She goes out to relieve herself on the side of the truck. Damn thing grabs her. He jumps out the truck with a 45. This thing is dragging her down the road. Shoots it 4 times with a 44. No blood. Barely just lets go. It didn't even affect it. We're talking a Dogman sighting. This was, it blew my hair, but the little hair I have back left blew it back, man. They're everywhere. And I don't know if it's that it's being more reported now because of, shows like this, yourself or others, or they're just becoming more because of the state the world is in, that maybe,
when you have things like the Black Plague of the 21st century, where we were all told we had to stay inside for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, you've seen those shows. How long does it take for nature to take back over places that we're not in?
Not
long at all.
10, 15 years at the most?
No, it don't even take that long.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about just something getting grown over. I'm just talking about if we're not going outside, and we're not going in all these camping areas and these places like that.
Oh yeah, like Detroit, where the deer start coming back into the city. For example,
it's not going to take animals long to move back into that area.
Right. I got you saying.
I know this is probably going to hurt some guys' feelings, but we don't have people like Davy Crockett and Teddy Roosevelt and Daniel Boone. We don't have people like that anymore. We don't have people that can go, like in the pioneer days, that can go push things like that back into the wilds like they did. We don't.
Soft. We got soft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you make copies of copies of copies.
Yeah, copies of an imitation, to quote Marilyn Manson.
So, we don't have that anymore. And so when we were out of the woods or not, not outside for 2 years because we were told we couldn't go anywhere, and these things start moving back in, and then all of a sudden we're back out there again. That's,
Oh, that's an interesting theory, dude. That they just kind of just like the two worlds collide at one time again. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're everywhere, man. I got dudes in eastern Tennessee, not that far from you. They're just, everybody's seeing them. You're not even that far from the Cherokee Nation, are you?
No. I could be up to Cherokee, North Carolina, in probably 30, 45 minutes.
Okay, you're right there close to the border then. Mm-hmm. All right, I got where you're at. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me. It's been nice meeting you. It's been an interesting conversation, man. I really enjoyed our banter. I enjoy that a lot. A lot of people they want the the crispiest of craziest stories all the time. But for me, it's all about meeting people and just kind of like, I enjoy Americana. You kind of represent that for me. I enjoy that. You know, the way I like people to, like, if I want to show somebody an American, I would say, hey, you gotta look at Robby. That's an American dude. That's what they look like. You know what I mean? A lawman. You know what I'm saying? A good old country boy, got your hat on and shit. I like that stuff. And it's been a pleasure, man. Tell me one more time the name of your shows, where people can find you, and that way they can come check out your stuff.
You can find us on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. It's the Nightmare Hunter podcast. Myself, D.A. Roberts are both published authors. We've got Carrie Pocket Doc Davis, who is the owner of Dark Angel Medical, is one of our co-hosts, and Steve Monrodis. Most people probably still think of us as DAX Machina, but we've gone through that rebranding. Or now the Nightmare Hunter podcast, same goofballs that you knew before, just a different name.
Awesome.
But you can find us there. You can find my books on Amazon as well as DA's. Look up Robby Jed Raines. You can find, I've got 3 in print now. 3 of the Nightmare Hunter series, or excuse me, not Nightmare Hunter series. I'm looking at my tag. The Shadow Walkers series. The first is Silver Star. The second is Shadow Walkers, the Creature of Scapor Swamp, and the third one that's just came out is Shadow Walkers, the Terror of the Wampus Cat. And I'm working on my 4th one, which is going to be a kind of a prequel to the other 3. It's going to be set in 18th century Scotland.
All right.
And DA and I have, like I said, he's got 36-ish books out. So we're starting to tie both my universe, which is very small, into his larger universe. We've got a lot of interesting ideas that are coming down the work. So
I'm looking forward to that, man. That sounds good, man.
Go check them out. All our books are available on Audible, Amazon, Kindle. So
yeah. Once again, guys, those links will be down in the description below. Go over and check them out if you enjoy this show. I appreciate that very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, we are the Eye. We are aware. Love you all, and have yourself a good day or night, wherever it is, wherever part of the world you're in at the moment. Bye. You have been watching the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of your favorite interviews. And remember, we are the Eye, and we are aware.